Hello, hello, this is Piggsy doing another video. Just sort of my camera. I'm doing a bit of a night drive. Who knows what we might see. Got some car following me, he's hanging around for a bit. Adjusted the camera, now he's following me. Oh, very nice. So there's something I noticed that my body odour was smelling different. And I thought it could be because I had this snail supplement of some sort. I thought, well, maybe some bacteria's gone in your body and the chemistry's changed. Oh, come on. Bloody hell. Wild, that car was wild. I mean, I was on the right side of the road. He was just flying around the corner. So I thought it might have been that, or I thought it might have been the colloidal gold. And then I had this horrible feeling, because I mean, I think I've had COVID, okay? And I had some health problems. Well, basically, I had a lung infection. I got it from nowhere. I mean, I knew another chap who had a lung infection, but the chance of catching it off him is very remote. I mean, he might have coughed or spluttered or something over me, or near me, and I might have breathed it in. That's a possibility. But the chance is very remote. And I felt this like crack in my chest, and I thought it might be my ribs. And I felt these sharp pains and all sorts I had in there, and I didn't feel right for a while. And I seemed to have lost some energy and all sorts of things. Anyway, to moving forward in this conversation, there's reports that sometimes your senses change as a result. I didn't have anything at first, but I'm thinking to myself, I keep smelling this weird smell, and sometimes I'm tasting it on food as well. So it's a pathogen of some kind. So it could be that the virus is still in me, and it's just undergone some sort of a change, and it exists. It's got a close relationship with the bacteria. So there might be one of the same when they meet each other. It can exist on your own bacteria. Maybe the asymptomatic stuff is that there's bacteria that lives inside your lungs. So if your lungs are not super clean, which they shouldn't be, they should actually have some sort of flora in there like you have on your skin, and it's a natural barrier. So if the virus gets involved with that, and it's already a natural bacteria, it's not necessarily going to harm you. So it's not necessarily going to help the virus cause massive infection or issues. It may even influence or manipulate the virus itself. A virus is kind of like some retro organism, and so it's often considered just a dead bit of information, really, but it's got a purpose, and it may be that it's a part of something bigger, like an organism that produced some type of viral bacteria or viruses to infect bacteria to transport its DNA into other host organisms with the aim of regenerating itself. So it's a bit like Prometheus from Alien. It's got its genetic information. It's trying to re-replicate it into that being, and so as a result, it creates these kind of mutations along the way. But ultimate goal is to produce this ultimate life form. So our DNA is always going under changes anyway, and we got things in our guts that manipulate our DNA, and there's a symbiotic relationship. And ultimately, I was chatting to my dad, and I was saying, look, what is the ultimate goal of a virus? It wants a place to live. It doesn't want to be eradicated. But because maybe it's more primitive, or it reacts in a particular way, you know, it's just like it's like a fox in the chicken coop. It has to learn that if it attacks all the chickens, it's going to have no food left, and if it kills the host, then it's game over. So it's a part of that learning experience. Plus, it's a primitive chimera virus because it comes from some animal DNA, and so I don't know if someone's manufactured it or it's been around for a while. If it was a part of a weapon that, you know, was very ineffective, and now it's got to a point where it started to undergo some sort of mutations, and it's a target population. It affects certain people. There's certain they've got deficiencies, basically deficiencies in zinc and vitamin C is probably quite true. If you kind of have all the essential minerals in your body, you're much more effective. So it's, I'm not saying it's cures or anything like this. What I'm saying is if your what is it, forearmed is forewarned or something, it gives your body that kind of ability to deal with something it may have not experienced before or anything like it. So it gives it a helping hand. So I might have undergone some sort of changes. That's why my smells changed. Some of my sensory perceptions slightly changed, and there's probably some damage it's caused along the way. But ultimately, it may get to a point where there's some, it may actually reverse damage, or it may actually have a productive function in my body, because it starts to integrate with the body at best, because it wants to survive, and that's its goal. Or either that it's going to be detrimental, but very infectious, and so it wants to find a way to survive, function, exist, and it starts using your DNA to replicate itself, so it becomes infused with you, and after a while it's going to undergo certain amount of mutations. It's going to create, like I say, it's going to create certain outcomes. They're either going to be good or bad. It's just a bit of a random information, and I think it's a part of a bigger puzzle. So, I mean, what would cause a virus to even exist is that its environment was so hostile to it that it had to de-evolve in some way to survive. There are some creatures that have some sort of like, are able to de-evolve at some level. I mean, my other concern was potentially, come on, that's it. Just want the car to speed up because the car behind me is getting closer. And this one's going at 20 miles an hour. This probably wants to turn off, but it's just not too sure where to go. So my other concern was that my lung was damaged and it was rotting. I was concerned like some bacteria and things, but I'd be much more sicker if that was true. Like you had some damaged organ in you and it was rotting inside you. I have to slow right down. Come on. Because I was in fourth, see now. Now I'm back in fourth. I have to go third, fourth. Pick up some speed. Just want to get into the safe zone. It's pretty at night actually, it's a bit like a disco. Lights. So yeah, so I was just worried about what's happened. I'm kind of accepting maybe it's a positive. And the other thing is a kind of cat going wild. I think it's kind of creating a psychic bond to try to connect at some level, because I want a peaceful outcome. You could possibly flush my system with colloidal silver, just in case something is, migrating into other organs and doing other things. Or it could be that I've been exposed to somebody else who's got it, and because a lot of people are asymptomatic as well. And I haven't felt right since I went to this party, this Indian party. So whether it's something in the food, something in the rice, it could be all sorts of things potentially that might have triggered something. So yeah, just don't know. So some other things are triggered. I guess the colloidal gold. The other thing is it could help to fix your DNA, but if you've got a fault in there, it might not. So I've got something wrong with my liver. It's what you get when you get older, to be honest. So what's changed? Probably an enlarged liver. And the guts as well are prone to Crohn's disease, so it's in a genetic, it's in the DNA, so it's a bit more difficult to fix. It would need a virus to fix that, or it could be a virus originally caused in the first place. Inserted a bit of code that shouldn't be there, or duplicated it in some way and it becoming ineffective. and also an enlarged prostate, so I need to be kind of careful. And I'm still doing things with round fasting. It's just keeping to that and simplifying my food as well, so it's easier to digest. So it's not really stressed out anyway. So I've started eating loads of eggs. I'll probably do tonight is I'll knock up some egg rice. So I've got a bit of bacon. I'm just going to put the rice in there, water, a bit of turmeric, maybe some spices. I'll probably put the eggs in there to boil almost. You have boiled eggs, and I can just cut them up afterwards and put them back in the rice. I can put bacon straight in it as well. It'd be kind of slightly blanched, but give a bacon taste to the rice, pot rice really. So salt. I've also got olives, and I've got garlic. I've got those little garlic cloves that are pickled. I haven't had them either, so I might get a load of them, chuck them in, give it a whirl. Garlic's not always great in stomach. Sometimes it doesn't always work so well. I'm sort of looking forward to the Morbius movie, because he's got he's got some genetic flaws that he tries to correct, and as a result becomes this vampire guy. Now, who knows what could happen in Corona? I mean, if it keeps on infecting bats, reinfecting humans, it could act as the carrier to taking genes across from one species to the next. And sooner or later you might have some bat humanoid to come out of it. I wouldn't want to see what that would be like. I don't think it'd be a vampire though, see that motorbike. Luckily my eyes were on it. So if I went out in front of him, it'd just be just turn to a pancake basically. But yeah, I mean, especially, and also it can infect things like cats or your pet. So imagine if you had your pet and you had a version of Corona and you were asymptomatic, didn't know, and the cat was as well. And so as you get infected, you were transferring the genes across, and then you're retransferring them back over and so on. So eventually in the offspring that you produce, or the cat produces, or the animal produces, might have some of this, especially if they use it, if it's man-made and they use the retrovirus. You know, there are some viruses that infect in some way, or influence other viruses. That's how you're able to, because it's RNA and it's usually into segments anyway, but there's probably ones that are more effective at picking up other viruses' DNA and add it to their own. And them ones are very good at gene editing, because they got used to doing it, because they transfer maybe between two species. So they've had to have a more unique way of doing it, and so it's picked up a way to edit them better, or it may even edit things at sort of similar genetic structure. But anyway, through mammals, I think it's going to be fairly easy. And like I say, it can also the virus can attach itself to different organs, so including the testicles. So if someone's got loads of bloody corona in their nuts, and it's mutating that organ or influencing it, they may be passing it on to their offspring. That's really annoying. There's got a little red light flashing on the blooming drain, and it's a bloke on a bike, and he's not moving, so I've had to stop behind him to go around traffic. He could have just got on the park if he's going to be standing in the bloody road. So yeah, there's lots of potential, but yeah, if you take something, so if you craft something, the tools that you use to craft it still mark it, and there'd be the clues, but they could also operate in different ways, in that potentially it could result in, oh that's so annoying, flashing light in my eye, off my mirrors, you've got some bicycle with flashing light. What a lovely treat. Yeah, so there's lots of things that can trigger some virus mutations, but if you've got something that you've designed and the tools we used on it, the tools may be still there, like the enzyme that helped to stitch it together, or either a protein or you had to put it through different animals, you're going to add things across unintentionally that are there because of the carriers. Yeah, who knows what you could create. Or somebody will be born with a type of virus in them, and if it gets to the point you get something that can influence, say, the mitochondrial DNA, then you've got a whole different ball game. I mean, you could generate a cancer. You could create somebody who's got some supernatural abilities. Like your cells can regenerate, or they're more stronger and more resistant. So it might be like something like the film from the underworld. Somebody with some new genetic abilities. So who knows? Anyway, I guess it's a big sign off from these fantasies about viruses and stuff. I mean, I think I'm well. I think I'm okay, but when your body changes, it makes you think about stuff. It's a bit like when you've got like gut pains. That's what I get with inflammation in the bowels, to do with like a leaky gut. Maybe it's Crohn's or just IBS at level. You know, it's when the genes start reacting different ways and they're not processed, not functioning so well. Yeah, it's like pain. Oh, liver. It's like alcohol. You know, I have some resistance, but if your liver's not functional enough, then you can get wasted on a bloody pint. So I need to work on healing my liver. But ultimately, you'd have to either get it to switch on genes it may have switched off prematurely, or put it under some kind of stress that causes a mutation. So we will see. Anyway, this is Pixie signing off, and I will speak to you